All right, I think I'm going to make the call.
You have got,
Okay,
there
look.
it is.
Now look, I like David. I like David, but I've been on the other side of more firings than I have fired people. So I look at it from the side of the people being fired, and it's not a pleasant experience. I remember I went to Daryl Morey's thing at Sloan Conference in Boston one year, and I was on this panel, and a hockey GM was on there talking about, what a rough day it was for him when he had to fire his coach and the whole thing. Like this was some big sympathetic thing for him. This guy had been his friend and he had to fire him. And then it came to my turn. I said, well, I'll guarantee you it was a hell of a lot harder for the guy you fired than you. Like, I just don't have a lot of sympathy for you talking about how hard it was to fire the guy and the whole thing. Maybe it was, but the other guy's the one who lost his job. I also like, David, here's what I really love, though. Two things that I really, really love when front office people fire somebody. Number one, to justify their decision, and they go in a press conference and absolutely kill the guy on the way out, like with a bunch of BS, and I hate that stuff. And the other one is they get on there and they say, they fired a guy and then they say, hey, the team hasn't played well. We're all accountable. Why? What the hell do you mean we're all accountable? Who else lost their job? Everybody else picking up a paycheck tomorrow. No, you're not all accountable. You threw it on one guy. So cut the crap with the, we're all accountable. We all have to take accountability. You didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
Stan, two things for you. One, it's worse when they say I wish his family the best. I love his family. I don't like that. I've never done that in a press conference or a press release. But two, you say no paycheck, but there's a bunch of head coaches out there who make a lot of money not to coach. And so I agree with you if they're being fired like as their contract is expiring. But often you have an opportunity to make money not to have the service of working with some of those owners and GMs.
Well, look, I understand. What people don't understand, Dan and I have talked about this before. I think what too many people don't understand, I can only talk about the NBA, the way things work, but what they don't understand, like fans always want coaches fired. I get that. And there's no sympathy. And I never thought I deserved any as a head coach because what you're saying is true. I always had money coming in and we make a lot of money anyway. But what people miss is there's a lot of people under you who are not making great money, who do not have long-term contracts. There's guys I had in my organization in Detroit, I had guys making $65,000, $75,000 with families and things like that. And in a regime change, they're out the door. So when people can take joy in a head coach being fired, what they don't understand is, but a lot of people just lost their jobs that need those jobs, just like you do need your job as a fan. And I just wish
it's
people
true, but
understood that more.
Stan, there's another side to that, which is in a regime change, there's a whole bunch of people getting jobs who didn't have them. And so it's an opportunity for those people. I totally understand that there is a lot of shrapnel that happens when a coach or GM gets fired or when an owner changes. There's no doubt. But there's a whole group of people who have an opportunity who otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, that's the business. I mean, and, I try to tell young people when they get into it, like, look, you have to understand what the business is. And you have to understand the insecurity of it. I mean, that's the way it's going to be at every level. You might have a little more security the further down the food chain you are, but not a whole lot. And so, look, I don't expect sympathy from anybody. Coach is getting fired. Anything else? I do react negatively to the glee that a lot of fans take when somebody gets fired, because I don't care how much money you got coming in. Mike Budenholzer gets fired in 1 year. He's got $40 million coming in. And you know what? It hurts. I don't care. I've been through it enough. I can tell you, Mike Budenholzer and his staff, it hurts.
But it,
I mean,
but
I don't
it
care how
hurts-
much money you make.
but it does hurt slightly less. Tony, everyone listening to this
It
is
hurts
saying
slightly less when you can go and hang out in the Keys for a couple of years and fish and do your own thing.
hurts
Yeah,
back
you know
slightly
what?
less.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. I've been there 4 times. It doesn't.
To the Keys?
You're better off. I get that. I get that. You're better off. But when somebody tells you, we don't want you anymore, you're not good enough, we're better off with somebody else, you can't tell me. I don't care who it is. There's nobody that does not sting. I mean, yes, it's easier to move on. I'll give you that. But it still stings. With that said, I have said about the Phoenix job, and David's right, they're paying Frank Vogel and Mike Budenholzer probably a combined about $20 million next year to not coach. I said that's the most attractive coaching job on the market. I mean, you're going to sign 5 years, $50 million, and you're probably only going to coach 1 year. Matt Ishbia is going to get rid of you. So, if you're somebody especially who wants a short-term job for a whole hell of a lot of money, Phoenix is your destination in the NBA.
Stan, I have a question for you because it might couch this segment a little bit better. Have you, maybe even before you got into coaching, were you ever fired from a job where you weren't given millions of dollars in compensation?
Well, when I got fired at the University of Wisconsin, I didn't get anywhere near millions of dollars in compensation. I got
adjusted for inflation, though. You got something.
well, I mean, okay. So now you're saying, Stan, you were old at the, you're old.
Oh, I'm saying
and that happened a long time ago. I got you, Mike. Okay, a little subtle.
No, he's
jab.
gonna He's about to trap you here on which hurt more and which hurt less.
I'm just saying, I don't know if you have the data points to be fired without a huge compensation
listen,
package.
I'm saying it is definitely easier to move on because you don't then have the concerns about being able to support your family and everything else. It's definitely that part's out.
Yeah,
but
that part is the whole part.
It's a
for me.
huge
It would be
concern,
like,
actually.
yeah,
Not well,
like,
it's
a
like,
big
it's
part.
kinda
You
like,
know what?
How do I eat?
It's a big part.
you think it's the whole part to you until it happens. And let's not forget, for these guys getting fired, it's not happening like most people getting fired where nobody knows about it. These are very public things. It's out in the newspaper, and there's going to be all kinds of commentary. Why did Michael Malone get fired? Why did Taylor Jenkins get fired? People ripping apart, their coaching, their character, everything else. Yeah, I've been there, so I can just speak from experience on that. I'm with you that it doesn't hurt as much in terms of you can support your family, but that shit hurts, man.
All right, so Stan,
You know what would hurt my ego? Losing a house.
Yeah, well, so I want to tether Stan and to something here because I know how much this man cares. So when he's rummaging around in the shame of having failed a bunch of people relying on him for their jobs, he's saying the money doesn't heal whatever guilt he feels when something like that happens. And I get that articulation. But I also understand how it is that anybody would arrive at. And Stan, the shame you talk about being fired publicly, that's what the money's for. Like, that's why they pay. They pay
2 Dom Draper lines.
that is what they pay you for.
No question.
But it is human.
Yeah,
it is
no question.
From inside it, it's sort of humanizing for you to say, and yeah, it hurts because I'm hugely competitive. And do you know how much it sucks that I couldn't save the Pelicans or the Pistons?
Yeah, no, there's no question. But look, you're right, and that's what I'm saying. Heck, I grew up around the business with a dad who coached. It's been my whole life. The business. And that is part of it. And that is one of the big reasons that coaches get compensated the way they do.